Stanley's text coming up? Got it. We're recording. Hi, Geshe Michael. Thank you, as always, Geshe Michael. I think, yeah, your sound is not on yet. I'll do a quick thank you for our amazing tech team, Worldview Productions. You guys are incredible. Francisco and everybody else on the team.
It's good.
Ale, and you can tell me who else is helping later. Thank you guys so much for everything that you do for us. Hi, Geshe Michael.
Good morning.
Good morning. Or whatever time.
Are you ready, Nico?
I'm ready.
Okay,
Ready.
here we go. Hi, welcome back to Xuanzang's Tower. And today we have Stanley Chen's book. Stanley's been translating a book called Abhidharma Kosha, which was written 1,700 years ago. And it records the wisdom that was very popular for 700 years after Gautama lived. So for 7 centuries, Buddhism got more and more dry. And the Abhidharma Kosha is an encyclopedia in 8 chapters. And I spent 12 years on it. So I was excited that Stanley foolishly agreed to do a very long commentary by Chonde Dorpashidi. And that would take 26 years to finish. And we started it and we got through the first book. So his first book is in production. We're working on it. And then we made a big decision to switch to another book, which I rarely do. It's bad luck to switch horses in the middle of the street. And we decided that it would be a really good strategy to move to another famous book with the same half title, which is called Abhidharma Samuchaya. Say Abhidharma Samuchaya. And this is a book that was written by Master Asanga. We'll talk more about it.
Sorry, Geshe. They said they cannot hear you.
Oh, dang it. Start over again. Maybe my computer's sound is off. Can you hear me now?
Geshe Michael.
I can hear you, Geshe Michael.
I can hear you.
Oh. Then
Okay.
it's only the Chinese channel cannot hear somehow.
I can hear you.
Oh, it's the Chinese audience then. Oh, maybe there's no Chinese translation. 大家好的，
Okay.
请听中文的朋友可以选择中文频道。
Catherine's channel.
Okay. Oh, now it's okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Sorry.
Okay, so basically, there's 2 great books on Abhidharma. One is recording the popular for 700 years after Buddha lived. And that was kind of shaken up by Nagarjuna, and then started all the Mahayana schools. And there's another Abhidharma, which is called Abhidharma Samuchaya. Abhidharma Kosha means the treasure chest of Abhidharma teachings, or the treasure house. And Abhidharma Samuchaya means the collection or the compendium of Abhidharma teachings. And that book, the second Abhidharma book, was written at the same time as the Abhidharma Kosha by the half-brother of the author of the Abhidharma Kosha. So you've got 2 guys writing Abhidharmas. And we've made a decision to switch over to the second Abhidharma text. And Stanley's going to talk a little bit about that text and a little bit about our strategy. And here we go.
Okay. I'm going to share my screen. Okay. You see? Yeah. Okay, cool.
It's not too big.
You can do this.
Oh,
Yep.
okay.
Okay. The big decision of switching text is kind of within a bigger background of starting a new project with ALL, the Asian Legacy Library, and other academic institute in US, and we are still working on it. But basically, in the last 35 years of ALL, we have been inputting a lot of Sanskrit books and West Chinese books. But ever since a few years ago, we started, particularly JB, John Brady, the director, started to talk about inputting ancient Chinese, which is a big collection of this ancient wisdom. And then a couple of years ago, I think Geshe took us to this place in China. This is a famous ancient cave in China called Dunhuang. Oh, it's in Dunhuang City. It's called Mogao Cave, which is built 11th century, which is like 900 years ago. And starting from that time, for some unknown reason, people started to put a lot of important items of ancient scriptures, statues, and all these special paintings, even painting on the wall into this cave. And it's been almost 1,000 years. And then it actually survived through many wars and changes of dynasties. It's probably one of the few collections of ancient Chinese that survived in the last 2,000 years. So it's very, very rare. And then it opened up 100 years ago. People found a lot of treasures, real treasures inside. It contains a lot of important items like ancient books, not only Chinese, but also like ancient West Chinese also there. So I'm going to show you
there's Hebrew there.
Hebrew, yeah.
Ancient Hebrew.
Manchurian is there, like all these ancient languages. Uyghur's language are there. Yeah. So probably you know the history. A lot of different countries are very interested, and they send their ambassador to this cave, and they used all different ways to
steal the books.
Yeah, to take them out of China. So right now, most of the items are in England, and then a lot of them are in Russia and France. 1/3 is left. All those leftovers are still in China. Yeah. So there has been a trend, like Geshe mentioned, that people are trying to a little bit maybe return these ancient items to the original countries. And then I'll show you a few pictures. So this is a picture taken 100 years ago. So that's why it's black and white. When the first English ambassador came, Staines, his name. Yeah, it's called Staines.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is the cave in the ancient time. Well, 100 years ago. As you can see, there are a lot of exquisite items inside, like thousands of them. You can't even count. Like these paintings are actually on the wall for 1,000 years. People like to do that. When I see this, I was thinking about a retreat center in Darma Mountain.
I keep thinking it's the same.
Yeah.
Even the landscape looks the same.
Yeah, it's because it's the same landscape. It's a desert in China. So very similar to Arizona, US. These are the real paintings on the wall. If you can tell, this is the ceiling of a cave. This is a angle where you look up and you see all the paintings. It's very, very beautiful. Besides all these arts, there are many, many ancient scriptures, ancient books. Here you can see ancient Chinese and ancient West Chinese there, like this. This is actually the Master Vasubandhu's Abhidharma kosher.
Wow.
In where we decided to switch from. It's there. It's chapter 2, where we actually are right now.
Where we used to be.
Where we used to be, yeah. And there are many like this. This is a handwritten scripture. It's very typical. There's a big difficulty of inputting this ancient Chinese, particularly because a lot of them were not printing, not wood. It's not woodblock printing. It's actually handwritten in different fonts. So even nowadays, an expert in this area find it very, very difficult to identify the words. So that's why not all of them are input, because it's just hard to identify. Because these fonts have 1,000 years history. And there's an interesting period of this Dunhuang area, the Mogao cave. Actually, a lot of Western Chinese used to live there. So on the left, you can see this painting. It's the ancient Western Chinese costumes they are wearing. So there's a lot of exchange, cultural exchange, language exchange, or there are a lot of translators there doing ancient Chinese and ancient West Chinese. That's why you can see there are many crossover in this place, which is very interesting to us, particularly to me myself. So the book that we are choosing, the new book, that's an interesting thing that I'm gonna let Geshe to elaborate. But the interesting thing is, so we have Geshe Kappa is kind of the grandfather, the founder of our tradition in the West China. So I think Geshe picked the commentary that we're going to work on. Was written by the main student of Geshe Kappa, Gyaltsab on the left. So you can tell from this picture. At the same time, there are only two main commentary left in ancient Chinese on this new subject, Abhidharma Samuchaya. One of them, the latest one, which is written 1,300 years ago, was written by the main student of Master Xuanzang.
Whose tower we are in.
Yep. Yeah, Xuanzang Tower. And then on the right, you can tell this is his main student, Kuiji. So he's already a famous scholar before becoming Xuanzang's student, very similar to Gyaltsab, who's already famous. And later he became Geshe Kappa's student. So somehow there's a connection between ancient Chinese and West Chinese cultural, and then these two streams of tradition are kind of crossing over into each other through this book. So for me personally, I'll be very interested to learn both tradition and compare the difference and the common places. Yeah. About more details of this book, I'll leave it to Grandpa. Okay.
Okay. I'm gonna show my own screen. Thank you, Stanley. Okay. Let's see if I can get this bigger.
I don't think you're sharing.
I'm not sharing yet. Yeah. Here we go. This one, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. No, this is the wrong text. Hang on. Yeah. Okay. No, sorry, wrong one again.
It's correct, sure.
No, it's
You
not.
just have to press this.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, good. Okay. All right. I'm going to give you a little bit of background about the book that we chose to translate. So the Abhidharma Samuchaya was written, as we mentioned, 1,700 years ago in India by one of the two great brothers, Asanga. And we got here. First of all, I wanted to talk about the pronunciation of it. The Sanskrit is spelled CC. Some say Samuchaya. So you would say Samuchaya. Yeah, and in practice, no one will ever say that. Everybody will say Samuchaya. You know, you can't really pronounce two chas in a row. Samuchaya. It's like a cha-cha. And so the Sanskrit spelling in transcription is CC, but the pronunciation in English is CH. And this is something that, Western scholars have a lot of trouble. They mix them up everywhere, everybody. And either you should write the Sanskrit, which is CC, or you should write the, I'm sorry, which is CCH, long story. Or you should just say CH. You see what I mean? People confuse them. Scholars confuse them constantly. On the website, you can see. So I wanted to talk a little bit about this book. First of all, let's call it Samuchaya, okay? Which is how you pronounce it. It's not how you spell it, okay? And then there's Lumba here in the Tibetan. Lumba means abi, okay? And it means, it has a lot of meanings, but it means apparent or obvious, or something like that, okay? It can also mean reality. Okay? And then Kuntu means everything collected together. Samut means everything. And then Chaya means collected together. Uchaya means collected together. The Sam Uchaya means everything collected together. I like to translate it as a compendium. And there's, so you talk about Lumba Zi in the second line here, which is Abhidharma Kosha. And that's the lower school. That's the lowest school of Buddhism, of the 4 great schools of India, ancient India. I'll give $100 to anyone who can describe that school in modern terms.
The accountants?
In one word.
Accountants.
That's close.
Scientist.
Scientist, $100. Okay. It is extremely close to science. Okay. Extremely close to science. It is science. And it's the lowest school of Buddhism. And all the other schools say, this guy is so funny. You know, they got it all wrong. So anyway, Lumba Zi in Tibetan language means Abhidharma, what? Lumba Zi,
Kosha.
Abhidharma Kosha. And Lumba Kuntu means Abhidharma Samuchaya. Samuchaya. And I thought you might like to know, you know, now that we have about 3 million searchable pages in the Asian Legacy Library, we can search in about 2 seconds. The search program we invented in 1987, and it's faster than any program available still. And you can search in a second or less than a second. And how many times was the Samuchaya mentioned? And then how many times was the kosha mentioned? And Samuchaya is mentioned 404 times throughout the Western Chinese tradition. So this is over 1,000 years. And then the kosha is mentioned 563 times with those correct spellings. So if you're really going to do a statistical search, it's good to check for nicknames, wrong spellings, you know, alternate spellings, but basic spelling, it's very similar. In other words, Stanley's second book is just as important as his first book. Okay, it's quoted just as many times. It was used in the later literature. And here's the name of the commentary that we're going to cover. Gyaltsab is the technical spelling of his name. Gyaltsab means the person who is the regent or who took over from the king. So Gyaltsab, sab means a substitute, and Gyal means king. So Gyaltsab is his nickname, and Gyaltsab became called Gyaltsab late in Tsongkhapa's life. For $100, what was the famous event in which he became a Gyaltsab?
He threw his hat.
Yeah.
Threw his hat.
Sorry, Rob Haggerty beat you, word.
No, he didn't.
You gotta shut up. You gotta get shut. Can't just keep doing your same speed. Yeah, Tsongkhapa was dying, and he took his Pandit hat and he threw it like a frisbee to Gyaltsab, and everybody said, "Oh, okay, he's the next one." And and then his monk's name is Darma Rinchen, and those are his dates. And this is the technical name of the commentary: Eloquent Words on the Essence of the Sea of Higher Knowledge. an explication of the Compendium on Higher Knowledge. It's not one of the 5 Geshe course books. So a Geshe studies 5 great books. And we don't have a great book dedicated to the mind-only school. We don't. It's not one of the 5 Geshe subjects to study the mind-only school, and you study it separately. Usually study it when you study middle way. You study Chang'e, which is in how to interpret the Buddha, and then inside of Chang'e you study mind-only school. If there had to be a mind-only school book, this would be it. Okay. And just for your comparison, Tsongkhapa quotes it 8 times in his tiny book called Difficult Points on the Mind-Only School. He quotes it almost more than anything else. Okay, so it's an important mind-only book. Okay, there's a lot of samuchayas, and I thought at the beginning it might be helpful for you guys to meet all the other samuchayas, because you'll get confused when you hear samuchaya. And it's not the only samuchaya in town. There's other samuchayas, and they're quite famous. So you gotta, when people start talking about samuchayas, it's good to know some of the other samuchayas. Okay. First one is Ngamba Kundu, Abhidharma Samuchaya. And here's a typical mixed nuts entry, bibliography entry. Okay. There's 3 sutra samuchayas. Okay, so what does that mean? Sutra samuchaya. They go and they collect quotations from sutras. Like 1,000 years later, they take sutras and they make a little, I would call it a bathroom reading book. It's like a little book of quotations from the sutras. And there's 3 sutra samuchayas, which is a big hassle. If you're a translator and you're trying to find a quotation, you should be aware that there are 3 sutra samuchayas. So there's an Abhidharma Samuchaya by Asanga, and then there's 3 different sutra samuchayas. The first one is by Nagarjuna, writing about 150 years before Asanga, Asanga. And so when you see someone quote a sutra samuchaya, it's good to go check Nagarjuna first. Okay. But I've had this problem. I've been through this suffering of trying to find which sutra samuchaya they're talking about, because there's 3. Then there's 2 by Atisha, who helped bring Buddhism to Tibet 980 AD, 1,000 years ago. And he wrote a short one. You can see here, it's only 2 pages, which is advices collected from sutra. And then he wrote a major work of 200 folios, which would be about 2,000 pages in English, where he just quotes sutras, his favorite sutras. Okay, so that's the real sutra samuchaya. So how many samuchayas we got so far? We got 4. Okay, you want to see another one? Shiksha Samuchaya.
Oh.
Okay, and Shiksha means trainings. In Tibetan, it's called Lapa, Kuntu, Lapa. In Lapa Sum, the 3 extraordinary trainings, for example. So Shantideva, and as I mentioned the other day, I've often been attracted to his other great book. So he wrote, of course, the Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life. We're translating it. But he also wrote a major text called Shiksha Samuchaya. And what turns out that he wrote 2 of them. So it gets more confusing, okay? He wrote a longer, this is a short one, 3 folios, which is about 25 pages in English. And then the longer one is about 1,600 pages in English, okay? But he wrote this thing called Shiksha Samuchaya, which means the compendium of all the trainings. How many samuchayas we got so far? 5?
6. And it was 2, yes.
Yes. Okay. And now here's a really famous last one I'm going to lay on you. Say Samakuntu Pramana Samuchaya. Pramana Samuchaya, which is the compendium of Pramana, teachings on Pramana. Sometimes this is called Pramana Sutra because it's a short book and it's a mother book. So not all sutras are written by Buddhists. This is a famous one, by Dignaga. We studied Dignaga's life at length. We translated his biography. And he wrote this. It's only 13 pages in the Tengyur, but that's about 130 pages in English. Okay. And that's the mother book of all Buddhist logic and perceptual theory books. Okay. It's the mother book of all of Adam Andrade's book and Ben Kramer's books. Okay. So there's all the Samuchayas. Normally, unfortunately, in another book, they'll say, hey, the Samuchaya says, and then you got to figure out which goddamn Samuchaya, Mr. 7?
Yeah.
How many we got?
Yeah, 7.
I thought you'd like to see, there's two great commentaries, as Stanley mentioned. There's two great commentaries in Chinese translation. And in Tibetan, surviving in Tibetan translation. By the way, I think we have the sutra, the Sanskrit of the Samuchaya, which is going to make it more fun to work on it. Because we do have most of the Sanskrit chopped out of a bigger commentary. Here's a back bibliography entry. I don't know who made it. It was in my mother collection of bibliography entries, and how it got in there. I want an investigation. Okay, it's polluted, and we don't do that in the. Yeah, Basha's misspelled here. Basha's misspelled. Numba's misspelled. And it's something that I would not say is mixed nuts standard. Anyway, somebody named Jinaputra wrote on the pages are misspelled. The page numbers are misspelled. So I can't tell you how long it is. I'm sorry. Okay. And there's another commentary. I wanted to, this is kind of sleepy stuff for you guys. How did the mind-only school come to be? Because it's extremely important. It's extremely, extremely important. As we mentioned the other day, Tsongkhapa opines that if you understood the mind-only school well, you could practice the secret teachings. Okay, not great, but okay. And so that means it must be a pretty cool school. All right. And this is just to give you a little background on how the mind-only school developed in India. Okay. And the place of our new book in that tradition. Right? So this is a book by Asanga, our author, okay? And he wrote a famous series called Yogacara Bhumi. Say Yogacara Bhumi. Yoga here in Tibetan is Neljar Chipe Sa. Neljar Chipa means, it doesn't mean physical asana practice. It means deep practice. So I like to translate yoga as deep practice. In the original meaning of the word, in the ancient philosophy, yoga means deep practice, Neljar Chipa. And chara means activity. So people who like to spend the day doing deep practice are called yogachara. And that's another name for the mind-only school. Okay. And so Asanga wrote a famous series of books called Yogacara Bhumi. Bhumi means like Om Vaja Bhumi Ahum. It means the ground or the levels. Okay. So the levels of yogic activity, Yogacara Bhumi. And it's an extremely confusing topic. Okay. Arya Sangha. So try to get this picture. Arya Sangha tries to save a dog on the side of the road, right? And he tries to lick the maggots off the dog's rotting guts. And because of that act of compassion, he meets Maitreya. And Maitreya takes him up to Maitreya's heaven, to Shida, I guess,
Mm.
and teaches him 5 great books. And by the way, those books became half of the Geshe course.
Mm.
We studied the first one for 12 years. Abhidharma Samuchaya. It's 12 years on 75 pages. And extremely deep. So he learned those 5 books from Maitreya. He came back. There was a disconnect. What was it? Yeah, I think it was 50 years. He spent like a week there, 3 weeks, something like that. Just the morning side. And he came back and 50 years had passed in our world, which means that all his friends were dead. And he just wandered off to the forest and started teaching a whole new generation. And then you can feel him struggling. I feel him struggling for the rest of his life to express what he learned in that morning. He's struggling to pass it on in his own words. And that's why he wrote all these texts. And here are the Yogacara books. I did a footnote on it for a book that we wrote, and it's a good footnote. And so here's how he wrote it. Number one, he many levels. He wrote a sub-book called Many Levels. Okay, okay. Then he wrote another book called The Levels of the Listeners. Okay. Which is kind of lower school levels. Then he wrote a third book called The Levels of Bodhisattvas, Bodhisattva Bhumis. Okay. Then he wrote a 4th book called A Summary of the Presentation of the Levels of Deep Practice. Then he wrote a 5th book called A Summary of the Collection of Sutras. Then he wrote a 6th book called Summary of Valid Morality. 7th book, a brief explanation of the levels, and an 8th book called A Summary of the Versions of the Levels. And so it's extremely confusing. And it took me many weeks to figure it out. So he wrote 8 books. And I think he was struggling to convey these ideas that he had been taught directly from the future Buddha. And I think he had trouble. And I think he kept writing and rewriting and starting over. And I think he had this, I sense that he was strained to say it in human language. And he spent the rest of his life. I can imagine him ripping up pages and starting over. So anyway, those are the levels of the Bodhisattva. And from those were born an entire tradition of 2,000 years, almost 2,000 years of the mind-only school. So here's how those books are arranged in the tenure. Okay, here's the list of mind-only school mother books, and they start with his attempts to write the levels. So you start with his frustrated attempts to write the books about the levels, and then people studied those and wrote their own books. Here they are. One is called Mahayana Sangraha. Now I'm following the order of the mind-only school books in the ancient collection called the tenure. Okay? So if somebody wanted to document the mind-only school, they'd say, well, it all started with these confusing levels, thousands of English pages, maybe tens of thousands by Asanga. And then somebody wrote a collection of Mahayana texts, and that's again by Asanga. He wrote a separate book called Mahayana Sangraha. That became the mother book of the mind-only school. Okay. Then comes what? These are in order of importance. Abhidharma Samuchaya. That's Stanley's new book. Okay. Then comes the Samuchaya. And by the way, we calculate 8 pages per folio. So if you say it's a 70 folio book, that's a 560 pages in English. Okay, just straight translation, it would be about 600 pages. Add appendices and stuff like that, you're up to like 800, 900 pages. And then the next book is Tekpa Chemba Duba Commentary on Mahayana Sangraha by Yignan. Who's Yignan?
Master Vasubandhu.
Bandhu. Okay, that's the Tibetan. Vasu means the riches of the earth, Vasu, and Bandhu means friend. Okay, so like Geshe, Geshe. Okay, so Yignan wrote that. He wrote a commentary on his brother's book.
Yeah.
Okay, why he was studying his brother's topic is another subject which you've heard about. Now here's a long explanation of the Mahayana Sangraha by somebody named Ngonyi Mepa, which means emptiness, Mr. Emptiness. Okay. Then there's a very intriguing book, and I call upon the next generation. There's an intriguing book called The Secret Meaning, Dun Sangwa, Vivarta Guhya Arta. And we don't know who wrote it. And it's incredible. It's really incredible. And we don't know. No one's ever proved anything. Some people guess it might be Vasubandhu. I doubt it. And the ancient Tibetans doubted it. So I'm just saying, if you pick up some more translators in the future, you might want to work on this book. Okay, it's called The Secret Meaning, and it's extraordinary. It's an extraordinary early Mainomi text, and it's constantly quoted by Tsongkhapa and other people. It's really cool stuff. Then there's another commentary to our book, which is Abhidharma Samuchaya, written by Jinaputra, which means son of the prince of the gate or something. And that's the one that Stanley mentioned exists in Chinese.
Yeah.
It was translated into Chinese. You have to appreciate that the books translated into Chinese and found in Binhuang were translated at least 500 years before the Tibetans even heard of a letter of letters, when they were still herding yaks. Okay, so that 500 years earlier, you've got people like what's his name with the tongue?
Oh yeah, Kumaraji.
Kumarajiva.
Whose dad was Indian and his mother was Chinese, and he translated the Diamond Cutter, no, the Heart Sutra?
Diamond Cutter Sutra.
Yeah, like 500 years before any Buddhist book got to Tibet. Then there's an explanation of the Abhidharma Samuchaya by another one. In the Tibetan has two copies of Jinaputra.
Oh.
And they're different. Very sexy. Somebody's having a fight with their dog. Then you've got the 30 verses by Vasubandhu, I think. And that's kind of a mother book of the Mainomis. And I think Word's been working on that for fun. And then you've got the 20 verses, which is again by Vasubandhu. I think. Let's see. Yeah. Yeah. And that's all. So those are the whole mind-only school comes from the books we're working on. Okay. And it's an extremely important school. If you want to see emptiness directly, it's very worthwhile to spend time with those books. So we're going to we're going deep into one of the mother books of the mind-only school. Okay, that's the proposal. We'll finish the Abhidharma Kosha in our spare time. Okay. And I worked on it for 12 years, and why I didn't publish it, I started debating after that, and I threw it out because my mind flipped to a new level. I said, now I understand it. Okay. All right. All right. Gyaltsab J's commentary. There's an ancient, well, not ancient, but there's a great commentary from Japan that we use called Tohoku. And it's a university in Japan. Anyway, their copy has 215 folios. And because of John Brady's project, we can count the words in a second. And we've got it's going to be about 2,000 pages of English. Okay? That's Gyaltsab's commentary, right? To Master Asanga's mother book. And then the root text, which I have put at the end of this file, I inserted it here. Okay? It's fewer pages, but it's canon. And the canon in Tibet was carved bigger letters because people didn't have eyeglasses. So there were no such thing as eyeglasses. So the classics at the beginning of Tibetan Buddhism were always carved in huge letters. And you can see them with if you're 80 years old, you can still read them. So there's more words per page. And it's if you just say, I'm going to translate this many pages, you're going to get a surprise. What do you call it? Unpleasant surprise that there's 33% more words per page. It'll take you an extra 12 years or so if you don't know that. So anyway, combined, because we can count the words directly, it's going to be about 3,000 pages in English. Okay? It's a major thing. Now, usually, when you have a Tibetan commentary to an Indian book, the Indian book has poetry, okay, in verse. Like the Abhidharma Samuchaya is poetry. Chinam sache sapamen lama dobe dujene sache kaje dera la sanam kundu je bagye samen langi dana duma chena sanga denanga dani gopani dela nanga madibao. And you can feel the meter. The Abhidharma Samuchaya is a rare Sanskrit book, not written in poetry. Okay, so it's going to be a real challenge to have the mother text and then the commentary to the mother text. It's not going to be an exercise of cutting out a poetry verse and then having the explanation under it. It's going to be one explanation followed by another explanation of the same ideas, and probably much different. And it's going to be a challenge, where to cut the text, where to intersperse them. It's going to be a real interesting game. Okay. About a 3,000 page book. It would take about, I don't know, 15, 20 years to finish this project. Okay. And I know, and I told you that 7 years ago, and nobody believed me. And it did take, we finished 10 books, I think, in the first 7 years. And those were the short ones. Okay. It's kind of interesting. Jetson Kappa and Gyaltsab share a teacher named Rendawa, Jetson Rendawa. And it's sometimes interesting to trace them backwards through Rendawa. He was a great Sakya master. And he wrote a commentary on this book. So that if Stanley's bored in the evening sometime and he doesn't want to watch Netflix, he could, for fun, he could read Rendawa's comments on any of the ideas. And those are going to be kind of the source of Gyaltsab and Tsongkhapa, because both Gyaltsab and Tsongkhapa were students of Rendawa. Later, Rendawa became Tsongkhapa's student, which is extremely unusual. Okay, so there you go. We did that with the 60 verses. Rendawa also taught the 60 verses that Nick just published. 670 hard-won pages. Each page is many hours of hard work. Okay, and we're ready to start. Okay, so everyone give Stanley energy. Whoa. And it's really fun and really easy to start a book. And it's many years of hard work and many disappointments, many obstacles. And so make a prayer now that we all live long enough to study this book and to finish it. And it's kind of our sacred duty to pass it on to the next generation. Somebody babysat this book for 2,000 years, which is about 80 generations. passed it on to the next generation. And are you going to be the schmuck who doesn't pass it on to the next generation? Nah, not after 2,000 years. Okay. All right, here we go. Please read.
Okay,
come.
okay.
No, come.
Oh, okay.
Come closer. And
Yeah, I'll do
you
that.
want to do it. Yeah, okay, you do the
Like,
pick on somebody.
okay. Like bà shep bà chơ ngon gyal soy
That's it.
zit nimbo sube dui
Oui,
ui chelak
chocolate.
choklak.
Okay. Lekpa Shepa, you guys know Lekshin Yingbo by some couple, right? Lekshin. Eloquent explanation. Okay, Lekpa Shepa. Here's Chimramba. Abi
Abi Samuchaya.
no,
Abhidharma,
Abhidharma.
Abhidharma.
Okay, Abhidharma. And he does not call his book Abhidharma Samuchaya. He calls it Abhidharma Gyaltsab,
Oh,
the ocean.
Ocean.
Of Abhidharma.
oh, wow.
And he says, I'm going to give the Ningbo of the Gyaltsab.
Essence. Of
Yeah, I'm going to
ocean.
give you the heart of the. Yeah. Shupa means living in a particular address. And it's a traditional way to say that wisdom is living in this book. It's a beautiful way to start a book. They always say Shupa. The wisdom of the essence of the essence of the vast ocean of the Abhidharma teachings is living inside my book. Okay.
Oh, okay.
And here's the Ui Chok. And U means middle, but it can also mean head. And what he's saying is, here's the first part. I'll give you the first part. I'll give you the head. Why don't you read one more sentence and then you can pick on somebody else.
Den Tsun Damba Tukje Chembo Ham Demba Nam Ki Shakla Chak Salo.
Okay. I suspect pen is misspelled. We got to check it. Okay. It might be, but I doubt it. Check. Okay. I think it's Jensen. I'm not sure. We have to check the carving. Okay. We have I got to say something. This is a bad carving. The book we have is a bad carving. So Nick, immediately we have to put in a better carving. Okay. We
I'm
have
already
to find.
looking.
We have to find the Tashi Thumbo edition of Gyaltsab of the Yepse Simbum, and we have to re-input this text because this is very corrupt. It was a very corrupt carving. Okay. Jetsun Damba, I bow down to Jetsun means holy ones, Damba high ones, Tukje Chembo, who have a lot of Tukje,
Tukje.
Mahakaruna. Yeah, great compassion. And then when I'm shut at their lotus feet, I bow down. Okay, so I bow down to the great ones of compassion, which is interesting because he's not writing a book on compassion. He's writing a book on emptiness according to the mind-only school. Somehow he sees it equivalent to compassion. Okay. All right. You want to choose somebody? Stanley's going to have the reading here, and we're going to pick on somebody.
The hero who just came back from Argentina.
Yeah, you want to come up here? I'll sit over there. By the way, we are in 15 minutes, in 12 minutes, we will do our 15-minute discussion between all of us on what did you hear today that you think you could use for your real life? You know what? I mean, it's hard when you're introducing a book, but what did you learn today that you could use in your real life? Okay, we'll do a 15-minute discussion. After that, we'll have a Peachtree World News. And it's sexy today. They're going to show some nice video of kids learning with the Green Stretch Pen project in Mexico. We have a congressional order to teach 22 million kids. And you're going to see some of the first videos came out. And then we'll have a second class, which is called mixed nuts elite,
Oh,
which means there's a real hard ass class going on after this. And you're welcome to drop out before the class. But that's going to be a very deep class with Sugengshi's book, which was written by the half brother of Asanga.
Mm.
All right, here we go. Tim's going to read. No, wait,
you don't have
see this stuff.
you can see.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yunten Getsu Paros Sungir Ching Nepe Drima Kuntang Drawa Yi Drowe Nengir Lama Jamyang Tang Mipam Gyaltsab Dampe Shablandu.
You guys don't know work on it? What's Yunten mean?
Good qualities.
Yeah, Yunten means like the spiritual qualities. Gyatso,
The ocean.
ocean. Paro means in Sanskrit, param. Param, like paramita. Yeah,
the
the
shore.
other side.
Yeah,
Yeah, meaning you cross the ocean from California to Japan. Okay, sun is the past tense of draw.
Went.
You went.
Went to-
You have crossed over the ocean of fine qualities, which means you got all of them.
Mm.
And you are Chawa of all Niepas, which are Chima, which are Mala.
You are free from all painful problems.
Yeah, you are free of all literally taint of smelling. Vimala's name means
You're not
the opposite. Okay, so Mala means stinky, and
Defiled.
Maleficent comes from there, malevolent comes from there, malice comes from there. Okay, Niepe Chima Kunan, you don't have any of those problems.
Hmm.
You are the Shenyan or the gateway Shenyan of all Droa.
You're the friend of all friends.
Yeah.
Of all living beings.
Yeah, and they like to describe it as what kind of friend?
Spiritual friend.
goodness.
Deeper, go deeper.
Teacher.
Unknown friend.
Oh,
I know.
secret friends.
Yeah, and there's this big theme in Buddhism about people who are watching out for you that you don't even know about.
Hmm.
I did prayers with an imam one day, and he kept going like this. Where is he? And then afterwards, I asked him, "Well, what are you doing?" He says, "I'm talking to my guardian angel." And in Islam, when you're born with an angel, and they follow you your whole life. It's a beautiful idea. And this is Shemian here. Okay. So you guys are the unknown benefactors. Did you ever watch The Millionaire when you were a kid? There's a movie, TV show. Every week they gave $1 million to somebody.
Hmm.
And it ruined most of their life. But anyway, it's called An Unknown Friend. So Droe Nyengyo, I bowed down to my Lama Jamyang.
Oh,
Yeah, I bow down to my teacher. Who's writing?
Gyaltsab, right?
Who's Gyaltsab's teacher?
Something.
Yeah, and he's comparing Tsongkhapa to Manjushri. And he bows down to the other Gyaltsab, which is Nipam, which is
the unconquered.
yeah, which is Maitreya.
Maitreya.
It's a nickname. Unbeatable
Oh,
is a nickname of Maitreya. And why is he called a Gyaltsab?
Because he's the next Buddha.
He's the next Buddha. He's number 4 Buddha in this world.
Hmm.
And he's waiting in his heaven to come. I like to tell people he's a lot closer than you think. But that's a joke. Okay, Niham Gyaltsab, Dampe Shabladu. I bow down to
Feet. The holy feet.
the holy feet of these two great beings. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think Tim's here. I mean,
yeah.
by the way, I want to congratulate Tim. He got back from Argentina this morning. He was part of the multi-country Latin America tour by our great teaching team from Guadalajara, Mexico. They went to Costa Rica and taught. They went to Mexico City and taught. They went to Colombia and taught. Then they went to Argentina and taught. And Tim just got back this morning. Thank you for doing that. He's fluent in Spanish. That was his degree in university. So,
I had a translator.
but at least you could tell if they weren't translating.
Exactly.
Okay.
Love
All right.
it. Love it. Great.
Please, can you do the
Yeah.
cursor? And Tim's going to read.
Galway Demba Sunga Rinchen Drum.
Yep.
Kanki Kenpe Loyi Kawe. Yeah.
Kachene.
Kachene. Drowe Uwa.
Nice.
Selwa Rungtempa.
Nice.
Getsun Tokme Sukna Tenchik. Something's missing.
The meters.
Oh,
up.
yeah.
You can feel it, right?
Yeah.
It's not bantam, 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 bum, bum, bum. It's bantam, 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 bum, bum, bum. And there's not enough beats, so the carving is off. We gotta find it. You gotta bug Nick to get an input.
I'm looking.
Our ancient book input team is so powerful that they can input a major book in a week. And they type it 5 times. 5 people type it, and it's compared by the computer. So we have an extraordinary input team. We just have to say the word, Nick, before Stanley's next class. Okay, Yahweh Demba, the teachings of the victors, right? Meaning the Buddha's teachings. Sungra means those highest of words. They are Rinchens. And drone means a treasure chest, okay? The word drone means a treasure chest. So, and you che the ka of that treasure chest.
You split open
Yeah, you broke open the treasure chest
with your
with your lo.
with your mind.
Yeah, which is your mind of incredible wisdom, Kemba. Okay, you cracked open the treasure chest of the Buddha's teachings with the crowbar of your mind. Okay, it's very beautiful. And then you took all the ulwa means poverty, financial poverty of all droas, of all living beings, and you saw it.
Cleared it away.
Yeah, no, you dispelled it.
Yeah.
You dispelled the collective poverty of all living creatures in the universe by crowbarring open with your mind the treasure chest of the Buddhas. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And by the way, and it was Lung Temba that you would do that.
It was prophesied.
Yeah, it was prophesied. Okay, it was prophesied that you would crowbar open this treasure chest of sutras and dispel the power, the spiritual poverty of the universe. Not bad. Therefore, may you stay tembo, meaning firm, on my tuk, on the top of my head.
Okay.
Some people are more available.
You do that right.
Who would we like to put on the top of your head?
Yes.
Yeah, may you always stay on the top of my head, which means I bow down to you. I put the top of my head on your toes. So it's a polite way to say, I bow myself down to you. All right. One more verse, and then we made it through the opening verses. By the way, most teachers in the Geshe course skip the opening verses, and they think it's too wimpy or something. I think it's got beautiful importance. I think we should always do them. Okay, Tim's reading.
Rangshen Lekshe Kompe Chelwe Chair. Pelwe Chair.
Kompa?
Gomba. Yeah,
Chair.
it's different from Gomba.
Kompa.
Sishi Kupe
Ba.
Kupa Selwe Taki Chok.
Okay.
Sunram Gyatso Jukpe Kochikbu. Chunan Kunwe Tupe Nam Sheja.
That's weird. Okay. Rangshin Lekshe Komba Pelwiche. What's Komba mean?
To get used to.
Yeah, it means get used to. If you if you don't aspirate it, gomba, it means
Meditate.
meditate. Yes, you got to be careful. It's a tricky one. I wanted to increase my familiarity with the teachings on emptiness, okay? On the ultimate nature of things. Now he's saying why he wrote this book. Why did Gyaltsab write this book? So I kind of wanted to get more familiar with emptiness, especially by studying the minority version, okay?
Wow.
Which is not the ultimate version, but it enlightens you about the ultimate version. And I thought that this book was the tupki choke, the choke of all tups,
The highest of all ways.
the highest of methods for selling.
Dispelling or
Gupa means hassle,
dis-
and of Sipa and Shiva,
clearing away.
lower nirvana and of samsara and lower nirvana. Okay. Lower spiritual achievements. Nick, we're going to finish these 2 lines and we'll go straight to them. I also realized that this book was a good go for Jupa into the Gyaltsab.
And going into the ocean of the great teachings.
Yeah, and they always talk about these, like that commentary by Gyaltsab on the Bodhisattva Charivatara. It's called entryway, right? Good place a good place to enter the ocean. Okay, so A, I wanted to get more used to emptiness. B, I was hoping to remove my own samsara. 3, I wanted to get into the ocean of this great books. Therefore, I decided to
Explain.
hear about Abhidharma Samuchaya. I decided to write a commentary on the Abhidharma Samuchaya. Kara's future tense.
I will do that.
And this is the traditional promise to do the book. Either you finish or you die. And there are books carved in the scriptures that end in the middle of the line. The person died. It's weird. You reach that point, you're like, you get like, wow, he died right in that sentence. And so I don't know if Stanley wants to do that. But traditionally, when you start a new book, you make this promise and you say, either I'll die or I'll finish it. So I'm not asking because I want you to live a long life. But anyway, it's a commitment. He commits to write a commitment. Okay. And Stanley, if you could translate ahead, the next 3, then next 2 verses, okay?
Until here.
Until this one. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's a terrible printing, I'm sorry. I was there when they did it. It was bad. Okay, I told the guy I was going to throw him off a rooftop on the 3rd floor building. I actually had him in my hands and I didn't do it. I should have. No. Okay, Stanley, can you lead this conversation? Did you hear anything today that you guys think you could use in your real life?
Right. Okay.
When you're introducing the books.
Yeah. So, wow, my mind just went blank. But so today we just finished the new book of Gyaltsab J's commentary on Abhidharma Samuchaya, which is one of the main root texts of Mind Only School. And we just finished we are in the middle of the first few lines where the commentator Gyaltsab J bowed down. For example, he bowed down to not others, but the one with great compassion when he decided to write this Abhidharma book, which is supposed to be about emptiness. So maybe there's an interesting relationship between love and understanding where things are not coming from. So maybe there's something to think about. And then, of course, he bowed down to his teacher. So he's playing the game because we all know his teacher is Jason Kappa, but he said, and then he said he's bowing down to Manjushri in this prayer. So that's another point that got my attention. And then he kind of elaborated his purpose of writing this book, which has three, I think. One is to get used to, right? To get used to the teaching of emptiness by studying mind-only school. But that's interesting point. Second thing is you want to dispel the hassle of the two extremes, samsara and lower nirvana. And then he want to get into the great ocean of all this Victor's teaching, which is containing all these mixed up books. So for me, I'll start with this, and then I would love to hear any of you to share your idea. Recently, occasionally I just taught a few great DSCU, Diamond Silk Entrepreneur University courses, actually a foundational course on all the business school alumni. It's a foundational course, which is called the Principle of Business for the whole DSCU academic system. And then in that first few classes, Geshe Michael talked about the motivation of doing business and how it will help you go higher in your business and be more successful if you have a stronger and even larger than yourself motivation. For example, one of the things he taught is if we can do business with the motivation that we can make our own personal contribution to the common business knowledge, then our business has some deeper meaning. And collective common wisdom of business. And I found it very true. Like when I have problems in my personal life, in my business, if I can remember why I'm doing that at the very beginning, we always get more gasoline in our body and mind, to conquer problems. And I feel like maybe Gyaltsab knows it's going to be a big project that he's doing by writing this commentary, and he will either finish it or die. So he's going to need a strong motivation, and that's a good reminder for myself when we start a new project today, which is very exciting, always at the beginning, and then we all know it comes with a lot of problems and challenges. Particularly when you work on something great, it attracts troublemakers who want to give you problems. Yeah, that's my take on this. Any one of you want to say something about this? You can just open your mic, or you can type it. I can read it. Or our friends here. Anything inspire you today? How to use this in your daily life?
I think you can bring this right to basically the same idea, the same concept to relationships, especially life partner relationships, right? This is one of the biggest projects that a person can have in their lives. So, and at the same time, I think that for this very reason, it's very, very challenging to be with someone that reminds you what seeds you have been planting all this time. So it's very appropriate to say whether you go all the way or you just let it go, because this huge mirror in front of you really will let you know what you have been planting. So you better be careful.
Cool.
Right.
Thank you, Brian. Yeah, relationship is a big project. Thank you, Brian. Anyone else? Rob. Okay. Rob.
Yeah. For me, it reminded me I think oftentimes we're prioritizing our life and we're trying to decide what's the most important thing to do. And when we look at the life of like Asanga and what's happened to him and the things that he met this sort of divine being and was able to live this extraordinary life, it kind of gives me at least some sort of like motivation to look at my own life and look at the framework of that story and how our life can be just like that. And so it reminds me, oh, okay, I'm on the right path. I'm doing the right thing. I'm in the right place. And so these classes or these courses bring so much value, I think, to my life and to what I do. And so it allows me, as I'm listening to this, to really be like, okay, I'm doing the right thing. And so I'm prioritizing my life according to this. It seemed to have worked out great for other people. And really, there's so many examples of the people around us, especially here, that are doing the same thing. So it kind of like gives you this built up, I think what Stanley was saying, this energy, our gasoline tank is being filled to give us even more strength to sort of keep going and trucking along our path, basically. So
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you. Yeah, that remind me of what Geshe just said. He said he felt that Asanga has been struggling to teach the humans after he came back from Tushita with Maitreya. And that's why he wrote so many books. Geshe, do you want to? Oops, sorry. I do want to ask you, like,
Yeah,
if you,
I'm allergic to hard work, I think.
Yeah. how do you feel about, like, if there was a person who are like higher than the rest of the people around him, and he was trying to teach them? How does this situation feel like to you? Yeah.
Recently, I was working on Kamala Shila's books, and as you know, he wrote 1,300 years ago. He wrote 3 books called Bhavana Karma, which is the stages of
Meditation.
meditations. It's juniper season in Sedona. I'm sorry. And I always wondered why he wrote 3 different books with the same name. And there's, I haven't done a deep study. I taught 2 of them, but they're different. They have different emphasis, but they teach the system of meditation taught in those 3 books is the system of meditation followed in Central Asia for the last 1,000 years. Everybody uses the same meditation techniques. And I think it's amazing that he taught it. He wrote 3 different books with the same name. And then if you study his life, he taught in, I guess you could say Central China, he taught in West China, and he taught in India. And I think he had to make 3 different versions of the book for 3 different audiences. And so I get sensitive about the idea of, I think Asanga, almost 2,000 years ago, had the same challenge that he was trying to, it's an incredible idea. Like if you had met a perfect being and hung out with them and learned what they had to say, and then you came back to this world, how would you teach people? And I think you would teach in different styles and in different ways. So I think there's this, with the Bodhisattva level series of books, 7, 8 different books, I think you've got this Kamala Shila type of thing where he's struggling to make a presentation that will fit everybody. And I think as a student in Xuanzang Tower class, we have the same challenge with the people we know. So we take these incredible classes, and then you meet your family members or your neighbors. Today I was talking to my neighbor, like, which version am I going to teach my neighbor? And which version am I going to teach my friends? And I think we're all of us are always faced with the challenge of writing different versions of what we have learned for different levels of people that we meet. And I think that's a big lesson of this opening class.
Cool. Yeah. Thank you. We have 2 more minutes. Well, we have one of the most experienced students of Geshe Michael here today. Do you want to say something about this topic? No? Okay. All right. She said no comment.
Just want to come up and say.
What I noticed is that it seems to me, my experience of the past few classes is that there's this repeating message about studying emptiness from the point of view of the mind-only school and how important it is to understanding the highest school's presentation of emptiness. So I'm taking that as a, I don't know, flashing neon sign now.
Cool. Thank you, Venerable. Yeah. I in the future I would love to like we have 1 minute. I'll just wrap it up. Yeah, I learned an interesting history about Master Xuanzang when he went to Nalanda University in India. Because at that time there was a big debate between middle way and mind only in that particular school where he was studying, and then it got really bad. People were like kind of angry at each other from two different schools. The funny thing is he actually wrote a Sanskrit book called Bringing Together the Middle Way and yeah, he did, but we didn't have any record of it. It's lost.
Oh.
Yeah, it was written in Sanskrit, but I would love to see by studying his main students' work on this project with the Chinese version, Kuiji's commentary, and comparing Gyaltsab's commentary. Because one kind of represent mind only, one represent middle way. I want to see if there's something that I can learn about how you can bring these two schools together. Maybe we can learn something deeper about emptiness and why Gautama taught different versions of emptiness at the very first beginning. Yeah, cool. Now, can I bring it?
Yeah. I mean, if you can find them.
I saw it.
I see also.
Yeah. Now it's the famous News Time by the P3 World News guy.
These guys are going to tell us what's happening in our worldview network around the world. And I just give you some little highlights of what people are working on for the next 10, 15 minutes. So we have, I think we have about 200,000 people around the world, and they're all doing something different. And every week we get to hear a short news show about what they're up to. Yay, hustle. Go for it.
Hello, everyone. Good to see you. Very cool that you're starting a book, Stanley. So today, we are actually talking about, again, some very cool news that we heard last Saturday. As you may have heard before, in Mexico, we have a special team, Anatol, Aisha, and Kitty, and other people helping them as well with this project called Green Stretch Pen. It got its name because the project mainly focuses on healthy eating, physical exercises, and understanding the pen. So that's why Green Stretch Pen, and they are going very big into public schools in Mexico. They are right now helping a lot of children, a lot of teachers, physical education teachers, and other kind of teachers. Even sometimes they have trained some of the police members of different places in Mexico, and that's very, very cool. Just this morning, they sent us one of a very cool video of something happening in the schools in Tabasco, and we want to share it with you before we actually have a small talk with Anatol and Aisha. They are somewhere here, but before going with them, let's see this video. Just one, I'll share the video with you. I'm going to share my screen. Yes. 1 second. Share screen. Can I get, yes. Share sound here. Check it out. It has English subtitles and everything. It's in Spanish, but you will be able to see what's happening. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Can you hear?
Hasso, we can't hear it.
I know, and I wonder why. But wait. Let me try again. So
You share it at the very bottom, little thing to click that says share sound.
yeah. But I actually, something happened and I'm seeing the chat and the chat doesn't let me see the screen. Here, okay. Share screen, and then I click and share sound. It should be sharing sound,
And
but
turn
it
up.
doesn't.
The little speaker has a line through it. So click the speaker.
Hey. Can you hear?
A ver, vamos a seguir calladitos para poner atención entonces. A ver, ¿de qué color observan que es la espinaca? ¿Ya entendieron?
Quiero
por qué
más,
traemos la
dice.
playera verde?
Ay.
Porque el jugo es verde.
Hecho,
Porque
papi.
el color
Y no lo
se nos
conozco.
da la espinaca.
Ya lo estás tomando, felicidades. Eso,
Guardemos
tómatelo.
silencio. A ver, beneficios de la espinaca. Contiene grandes propiedades desinflamatorias. Quiere decir que nuestro estómago va a estar desinflamado y no nos van a dar hasta cólicos, porque para eso es bueno consumir la espinaca. Dos. Ayer.
¡Silencio!
Tiene alto contenido de vitaminas A, B1, B2, contiene vitamina C, calcio, hierro, ácido fólico, magnesio, zinc y mucha fibra.
Okay, there you go. That's happening in Tabasco. That's actually very, very cool. Thank you very much for doing this. I think it's really having great impact in Mexico and in the world. And we have Anatol and Aisha here with us. Can you give them a spotlight, please?
Here we
Hi
are.
there. We're under ANA.
No, I
Can
think
you see them?
Yeah.
Okay, great. A&A?
Perfect. How are you guys?
Great. Good to see you. Come over.
Good to see you as well. These days we live in the same city. So can you tell us a little bit of what's next for Green Stretch Pen? And you must be so happy. I can see your faces. I really think what you're doing is amazing. So what's next for you? What's going to happen with these green uses?
Well, we this weekend we're doing Breast Cancer Awareness Month in the park. There's a major every weekend they have a major event.
The government
Yeah.
closes the streets of a whole area of the city, and he calls it the Vía Recreativa. So people get out of the house and get together and do community activity, and they're not always online and go do some exercise. So we've been sharing some yoga classes in this Vía Recreativa, in this program with the government. And this Sunday is a special day to invite ladies to do some yoga with us, do some exercise, and drink some green smoothies in a beautiful park, in a stadium, in a little, how do you call it, a photo?
It's like
it's like a little
venue,
stage.
like, stage.
It's like a beautiful stage in a park.
And you were just talking that the lady who's in the video, she's one of the local regional coordinators of in schools, and she's gonna be in charge of kind of distributing this content to many different schools in Tabasco, right?
Yeah, so she's one of our teachers that we trained in 2020, just before the pandemic started. And she then started teaching Green Stretch Pen in her school. And now the government has promoted her to a new position. They made up a new position
to take. It's called GSP Tabasco, and they want her to go to different schools and start the Green Fridays program in different schools. So because of her, we were able to train 500 teachers because of her example. That they wanted it in another whole bunch of schools, and now she's going to go around and really get those programs going. So in that video, she's actually has trained some staff of her school to start teaching the kids. So she's not the one talking; it's actually some of her team.
She's the one making the video.
Okay.
And
well,
here you
that's
can-
awesome.
And these
No,
are all
sorry, what are you saying?
You can see this is about over 10 different schools that are doing the program. And so each school has about between 200, I would say 500 kids. So this is the results from the first 10 schools that received the blender from us.
Some of these schools that you see here are new schools that started with the
Indigenous.
GSP program, and they are working with the indigenous communities. So they even speak in old ancient indigenous languages, not even Spanish.
That's very, very interesting. And I wouldn't be surprised if in a few years Mexico starts winning all the gold medals in the Olympics. We'll see. We'll see. Hey, thank you very much for what you're doing. This is just a short segment. We will have you soon in the longer programs we have once a month. But for now, we also have another special guest. I send you best regards. Well, you already left, but I send you best regards. And our next special guest is Seiji Arao, because he and Noor Ibrahim, they are doing a very good project you may have heard before. It's the Rumi Peacock Parenting Project. We have them a few, maybe 2 weeks ago. And it was very, very interesting to me how they are using these deep philosophy concepts to be applied in very modern and daily life situations, very important situations as well, like parenting in this case. So, Seiji, are you there?
Hey, Hazel.
How are you? Good to see you. Me da gusto
Good to see you
verte.
too.
He's
Igualmente.
another person from Guadalajara. Good to see
That was
you.
very cool to see all the work that Green Stretch Pen is doing. It's really, really cool.
Yeah, I was also very happy and surprised to see the video this morning. So, and tell us now, I guess this wasn't planned, but today the topic has been revolving around children and kids, first with Green Stretch Pen and now with this parenting project. And now I know you guys have been filming some material. So I was hoping if you could share with us a little bit of the content that you've been talking about and where do you see this project going? What's your goal with it?
Cool. Yeah, it'd be my pleasure. Let me just remember to speak slowly. So there's two things I wanted to talk about. In general, what is it that we want to accomplish? And with this particular course. So the first thing in general, we're developing a series of mini courses that are shorter and somewhat easier to be done by new people. So one of the challenges that we're facing is, at least in DCI, we have a captive audience of, we estimate about 160,000 people. But they love our material, but there's even in DCI, they find it hard. New people find it hard to understand all the content. So we're developing in general these shorter courses that are easier to understand for the everyday people. The specific purpose of this one in particular, right now we're doing parenting courses. This would be the third course that we're doing. The first one we recorded already. And I think you talked with Noor about these two first courses.
Mm-hmm.
The third course is one that I particularly like. It's we're going to talk about balance, and I'll give you the different topics that we're going to talk about. For example, one of the topics that Geshe Michael will talk about is how to find a balance between different roles that you might have. You know, the role that you have in your family, the role that you have in your business, with your partner, in your society, with friends, and in your own personal development, and how to use your time wisely, because we all wear different hats during the day. So this is one of the topics that Geshe Michael will talk about. Noor will talk about, I'm ready to do class by class. Third class would be Noor talking about harmonious problem solving, how to try to find, I think we talked about it in Mixed Nuts, I think last time, finding the third option, win-win situations. Other topics, how to raise compassionate kids, dealing with disagreements while being parents. After that, we jump back to Geshe Michael, how to have an agile state of mind to multitask in all these different roles. And we put this topic for Geshe Michael because I think he's one of the masters of how to do this, right? He's always, I don't know if you guys have seen his calendar, but he's jumping from one project to the other every, I don't know, half hour or something. So we asked him to teach us about that.
That's awesome, Seji. And sorry, when is this material going to be available?
We first need to, because we're launching it through DCI, we have to have a meeting with our organizers, which will happen in 2 weeks. And we're going to start releasing them beginning next year. They're planned to, right now we're planning to have it as an always on content, as opposed to the normal DCI levels. And the whole idea is that with courses like this, we create a funnel that will bring people to our organizers.
That's very cool. I really think the project is going to be very interesting. So I'm excited to hear more soon. We will invite you again, you and Noor, very soon, sometime, to keep hearing about it while the content is ready. And it's a pleasure to see you.
Same here. Thank you.
Come to visit to Guadalajara sometime, or probably I'll go there first. I'll see you there.
For sure.
Thank you very much. And that was it for today. Time went very fast, but we will talk again soon. So we go back to you, Geshe Michael and